Well, good at least. I mean, even though you have the hot dog, to have the offense get the steak after maybe a little bit of a subpar, okay scrimmage the last time out.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. One, I thought overall everybody came out here and competed, and we got to see some things that we wanted to see from everybody on the team. As far as the competition and the fun and all that, really been happy with what the defense is doing. I think Coach Avalos and the defensive staff have done a great job. And we're coming out here and letting these guys play, let these guys compete. It's good to see the offense get out there and move the ball down the field, get some explosive plays in there, have a few touchdowns. Sean Modster stepping up and making some plays. That's good to see some of those young guys do that when you don't have a Thomas Spurback out there or a Chaz Anderson out there, and you let these other guys get in there and do some of those things. So overall happy with the progress we've made this spring. Talk to those guys about how much more we really have to achieve until we go out there and play. And fortunately enough, we've got time to go figure that out throughout the summer, and we get into fall camp. But I think the guys' attitude and mentality about what we wanted to get done and how we wanted to go prepare and how we wanted to play with the type of technique we've been preparing with each and every practice, those were showing up tonight. And the crowd, awesome to have Bronco Nation back in Albertson Stadium. Lyle Smith prior to the scrimmage. It was fun to get out. We scored on that play. It was a give me, but we had the offense get out there and go run it. So it was cool that those guys did that, and they took a lot of pride in it. So I just felt like the energy and execution, letting guys kind of go out there and just cut it loose in front of some people and have some fun was important for tonight.
What defensive players were you most impressed with in this game?
Well, several. I think the D-line, one of the things when you don't have the quarterbacks live, you never get a chance to really see how the effects of a sack have. That's one of the things. It's hard on the D-line. It's not easy. We're not having our quarterbacks live. They got to run. They can't take that full path and tilt to go sack the quarterback. They got to run by and touch his hip, and we're not touching the quarterback, so it's hard to tell. But I think our D-line all spring long has done a very good job, and especially on the edges. Jabril Frazier, having him out there. The interior guys, David Moa's had a great spring, Sam McCaskill. So those guys up front, it was good to see the O-line come off and establish the line of scrimmage on a few of the run plays, but our D-line's done a really good job. In the secondary, I think there were some plays made. I don't know exactly who, Dylan Sumner-Gardner made a few plays out there. Jonathan Moxley is very hard to complete a pass on, and then Tyler Horton. Those guys have really made some strides. And probably one of the most improved players is Cam Hartsfield, and has really, I think under Coach Franklin and Coach Ambrose, done a great job with just how he's playing the game, his disguises, his savvy for playing that position back there, and the defense has made it very difficult on the offense throughout this spring. So I think a lot of those guys in the back end, but overall, the front seven, that group in the practices we've had and a couple previous scrimmages looked very good.
Not having Thomas and Chaz, was that by design at all, and looking for some guys to step up? And I know you touched on Modster there for a second, but I mean, he did a little bit after the catch, and he made a nice catch in the end zone.
Yeah, that's what you want to see. Sean's a guy that we know can catch the ball, and it was a matter of, Sean, can you get open? Can you make plays? Can you do those things when it counts? And he did tonight. He accepted that challenge. I know Coach Adams has been challenging him on that, and he showed it in practice, but, could we get it done today? Not having Thomas out there, we didn't need to have Thomas out there. Not having Chaz out there, if we had to go into a game, those guys are probably prepared and ready to go. And it goes for Gabe Perez. There's a few guys that are out, and they've practiced quite a bit, and they've practiced well throughout the spring. So to give these guys a chance that haven't played as much to go out there and showcase their talent a little bit and go play, that's what you want to see in spring. Because we got a lot of tape on Spurbeck. We got a lot of tape on those guys, so we want to get some tape on these other guys, these new faces, and see what they can do.
You talked about, when we talked with you earlier this week, I don't know if it was a challenge or not, but you mentioned the guys, what they did in the film room, what they did in practice, and actually going and implementing it in a game-like scenario. Was that a challenge by you a little bit earlier this week?
Yeah, still is. I wouldn't say that what I've seen, we'll go back and watch the tape, but that's still a challenge. How you prepare, guys sitting in meetings. I sit in meetings, listen to them, they answer questions, rattle off, and they go out and actually do it. Watch these coaches drill these techniques over and over and over, and then, all of a sudden it's gone. And you go out there and play, and we're still not consistent enough with that. That's really what we've been trying to get better at, is how do we go out there and take what we've learned in the classroom, take the drills and go apply it when we go actually play. And probably better tonight. I can't answer that right now from tonight, but leading up to this scrimmage, no. Watching practice, no. You go back and we'll pull out clips from actual plays in practice to the drill. You know, there's good and then there's bad. And we're trying to get to where there's a lot more good. And you know, I think our guys understand that. But if we're going to be a good football team, if we're going to go have a chance to win a championship, then we're going to have to do those things and apply it when we actually go play.
You mentioned having tape on Spurbeck. You also have tape on McNichols. That number 2 running back spot, I mean, what'd you see out of them this spring? I know Devin got a couple chances with the ones and ended up scoring that touchdown.
Yeah, I thought Devin, you know, when he hit that just a little inside zone play, that's what you want to see. He was downhill, he was physical, and you know, really ran hard. There wasn't a lot of dancing there. I think that's what you see from German. Ryan Wolpen, same thing. I saw him bounce a few plays and make some. Corey, I thought ran well tonight. Seemed to be okay. You know, when he got up there, just twisted himself a little bit. But Devin Demas, Ryan Wolpen, those two guys have had a really good spring. And I think Corey Young is coming on. I think things are starting to click. He's a young player, and it may not happen in the 15 or 14 practices that we've had, but from the summer and we get into those 20-some practices that we're going to have in fall camp, you can see where the light's coming on with some of these young players. And, you know, even today, as we're watching tape, you know, there's a couple guys where the coaches are in there and all of a sudden our guys have those aha moments of, oh, that's what you've meant. Yes, that's what we talked about the last 13 practices. But it takes time sometimes a little bit for it to click, and so when it does, hey, you hope that they keep applying what they've learned. They keep applying that when they go play, and you saw that from Devin Demas, downhill, being physical, and that's what you saw tonight when he ran.
Seems like, for the most part, injury-free this spring. There didn't seem were there any that are going to be significant?
I don't know that. I don't know exactly, you know, from today. Didn't really see any of that,
right.
But and we've done quite a bit of live work. Even in practice, we've been physical in the practices, and I think it goes back, in my opinion, it goes back to Jeff Pittman, it goes back to our off-season training. These guys are stronger, they know how to practice. I think they're going out there and they're playing the tempo of practice the right way when we are getting after a little bit, but never know, you know, when it's all said and done. You know, we'll take a look at these guys, but I think physically we came into this spring better than we did last spring, and hopefully our guys see that as we go into the summer and how that carries over into what we do and how we get into fall camp.
Didn't see Chancellor James anywhere on the field today. Anything you can say about that?
Yeah, no, wasn't out there today.
When you injury or?
Nope.
He's still on the team?
The
at
loss.
least?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Extremely important. That's something, and I think, you know, for us, we really feel like that's one of the things that we take a lot of pride in. And with the rules where we have chances to be out there, we can't be out there in the practices, but we can be out there in the summer. We'll do what we need to do, and we'll help implement certain things with drills and running and all that. But to me, that's the time as a player, when you get a chance to go out there and do it yourself, operate it, organize it. That's where you can really learn quite a bit, because you're really now coaching it, but also going out there and playing it. And I think those practices in the summer are extremely important. Our quarterbacks, defensive guys that put it together, our team leaders, becomes very important for us as we get into fall camp.
How do you approach the quarterback battle moving forward? Do your position, do you have a starter there, or how do you look at that moving forward?
Well, I think we'll go back and watch the tape. I've been really impressed with Brett. I think he's done a great job. Obviously did well tonight. Ryan, thought did some good things in there as well. Tommy probably didn't get as many opportunities as we should have gotten. Sometimes just how the scrimmage rolls and time and all that, but he's gotten better. You're going to see him out there because he does do some things that the other guys don't, and so we can utilize him. But we'll go back, evaluate it. You know, right now, I think those quarterbacks have all done a good job of leading this team, and they all have those qualities. So as we get into this off season, guys finish up, we get into summer, really expect Brett, Ryan, Tommy, all those guys to be leading those player-run practices, helping lead this team, and making sure that we're prepared coming into fall camp.
With Dante Dion and Darian Thompson leaving for the NFL draft, who do you see as the contenders to replace them?
Well, let me just say this so we're clear on it. As far as what those guys are doing now, we're not talking NFL, we're talking about Boise State. Jonathan Moxey, who has played and has played well, feel like he's a guy that's ready to step up, and he did last year, but he's improved from last season. Tyler Horton is a guy that played for us last year and continues to be a guy that one, is great in the classroom, two, practices extremely hard, three, it shows up on the field. And for a young guy, he's one of our leaders. He's a guy that we hope a lot of our young guys look at, and this is the way we want to go out there and operate day to day. In the back end, Dylan Sumner Gardner, who's played for us, it's good to have him back there. He hadn't played since Virginia, and that was one of the things. He got right back out there, and all of a sudden it's like, guys, this guy hasn't played for quite some time. So to have him back out there on the field has been good. And then we got to figure out some of these young players, Evan Tyler, Cam Hartsfield, who I mentioned before. That can go out there and help us in the back end.
So you mentioned a couple guys, obviously. Any guys that really caught your eye this spring that really, kind of when you think about what you've accomplished so far, that really did catch your eye, that I don't want to say surprised you, but really impressed you?
Well, I'll go back to the D-line. And I think Jabril Frazier, some of the stuff that we've done, and I don't want to get into too much of the technical side of it, but Jabril Frazier, Gabe Perez, those guys have really stood out. They have been very good on the edges, have played very well. I think the whole D-line in general, Sam McCaskill, David Moa is probably one of the most improved players that we have, and I think has come so far from where he's been, and Coach Caldwell's done a great job with him. That guy is a great kid. He's out here working his tail off, and he's getting better, and it was really a force this entire spring. Darion Jackson on the defensive side. We've moved him around, put him in different positions, and he is really a guy that prepares well, but is a physical football player that for a young guy to have him out there is going to make us better. On the offensive side, our tight ends, we've asked Jake Knight and Matt Pistone. Those guys have done a lot. Jake Rowe hasn't been out there a ton. Obviously Chase Blakely isn't healthy enough to go out there and play. So those two guys have probably taken more reps than anybody on the team. And we are moving them around and all over the place. And so every single day it's been something new. And those guys have handled it, no complaining. They've been out there working. And I thought today was probably one of their better days in the run game that showed up. On special teams, Sean Wales had a good spring. Tyler Rassa has done well. Matt Cota, as our snapper, has gotten better and better. So trying to figure out that position, but having Matt Cota out there and seeing what he's done, his snaps have gotten better, timing's better. So those are a few guys that I know I'm missing some guys, but David Moe and Matt Cota, two guys probably to me that going into this spring, really wondering, and those guys have had a great spring.
The decision to cut the satellite camps, I'm curious your thoughts on that. You guys have had a lot of success with that.
Yeah, we have, and there were some decisions back then about them getting rid of it. Right now, a little bit mixed on it. If everybody's doing it, what's the advantage? I guess you look at it from that standpoint. The opportunity to actually go out there and do it and get out and see these players and bring them where they don't have to travel as far, was an advantage. But I also understand the disadvantage of it as well when you're looking at the big picture of things. But I think 13 of our 24 high school players that we signed that we had in camps this last year. So, we got to figure that out and see what we do next. But as it falls, or when it happened, and as we're trying to figure out now our summer, assuming that was going to happen, now we got to adjust and we'll make it work.